First contact's price. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the International Space Station's new xenodiplomacy wing, watching the Meridian ship dock with practiced grace. The aliens had arrived 6 months ago, bringing promises of advancement and cooperation. Their silver-skinned, tall forms and advanced technology had captured humanity's imagination. But something about their latest proposal made Sarah's stomach turn. The Galactic Enlightenment Program is a prestigious opportunity, Ambassador Zix 427 explained, its crystalline voice echoing through the conference room. We select only the most promising young minds from each species we encounter. The aliens' iridescent eyes shifted between the assembled human representatives. Sarah studied the holographic profiles floating above the table. 30 teenagers, all showing exceptional abilities in science, arts, or problem-solving. And these specific children were chosen based on your observations, she asked, keeping her voice neutral despite her unease. Indeed, the ambassador's skin rippled with patterns of light that humans had learned to recognize as pleasure. We've been monitoring Earth's educational institutions. These young ones show particular promise in creative thinking and adaptive problem-solving, rare traits in the galaxy. Dr. James Martinez, Earth's chief synopsychologist, leaned forward. And the program duration? The information packet mentioned 5 Earth years. Correct. They will study at our most advanced facilities, alongside gifted youth from 12 other species. The ambassador's skin glowed brighter. Think of the opportunities, the advancement of human knowledge. Sarah noticed something the others seemed to miss, the way the ambassador's secondary eyes kept shifting. A tell they'd learned meant anxiety in Meridians. She'd spent enough time studying their body language to know when something was off. The selection process moved quickly, too quickly. Within weeks, 30 families had been approached, offered opportunities that seemed too good to refuse. Sarah watched the farewell ceremonies from her station post, her unease growing as each child boarded the Meridian transport. It wasn't until 3 months later that the first sign of trouble appeared. A message, barely detectable, hidden in a burst of what seemed like normal communication static. Sarah was on duty when the computer flagged it. Help. Not what they said. Hertz. Emily. Emily Jung, 15, robotics prodigy. One of the first to be selected. Sarah's hand shook as she decoded more hidden messages buried in the static. More voices, more children, all saying the same thing. They were not students, they were subjects. She took her findings to the Security Council, but the Meridians had planned well. Their ships were already gone, their embassy cleared out, leaving only automated messages about the program's classified nature and promises of regular progress reports. They played us, Sarah told her superior, Admiral Chen, as they reviewed the evidence. The whole first contact was a setup. They wanted our children. The Admiral's face was grim as he looked at the decoded messages. Why? What could they want with human teenagers? Sarah pulled up her analysis. Every child they took showed extremely high levels of creative problem-solving, adaptive thinking, and innovation under pressure. Traits that, according to their own databases, are incredibly rare in the galaxy. Most species either evolve for stability or pure logic. Humans are different. We thrive on change, on challenges. You think they're studying this ability? No, sir. Sarah's voice was hard. I think they're trying to harvest it. And they just made the biggest mistake in their species' history. She brought up another screen, showing the massive response already building on Earth. Parents organizing, military forces mobilizing, hackers and scientists working together to track the Meridian ships. Why's that, Captain? Because there's one thing they didn't factor into their calculations, sir. Sarah's eyes were cold. Human parents will tear apart the galaxy to protect their children. And now, they've given us a reason to show the galaxy exactly what humanity does when pushed too far. The Admiral nodded slowly, already reaching for the command console. Send the word to all Earth forces. Priority Alpha. Message begins. They have our children. Response authorized. The gloves are off. As Sarah watched the message go out, she thought of the 30 families whose children had been taken, of the gathering storm of human fury about to be unleashed across the stars. The Meridians thought they were harvesting humanity's greatest trait, our creativity. They were about to learn that creativity turns deadly when backed by a parent's rage. The hunt was on, and humanity was going to show the galaxy exactly why you don't take our children. The hidden truth. Dr. Kai Anderson had spent 15 years studying alien neural networks. Now, crouched in the maintenance shaft of a supposedly abandoned Meridian research outpost, he realized all his expertise had been leading to this moment. The neural scanner in his hands painted a horrifying picture of what lay beyond the wall. "Control, are you seeing this?" he whispered into his comlink. 30 distinct human neural patterns, overlaid with something else, something artificial and hungry. Confirmed. Sarah Chen's voice was tight with controlled anger. "What are they doing to them, Kai?" The outpost, hidden in an asteroid belt at the edge of Meridian space, had taken 3 months to locate. The Meridians had covered their tracks well, but they hadn't counted on the relentless determination of human intelligence services working with desperate parents. More importantly, they hadn't counted on Dr. Maya Patel. Maya's daughter Pryo was among the taken. She'd transformed her quantum computing lab into a command center, working with other parents to track Meridian ship movements. It was her algorithm that finally spotted the pattern. Subtle gravitational distortions that suggested regular supply runs to this seemingly empty sector of space. Kai adjusted his scanner, trying to make sense of the data. It's like they're using the children's brains as processing nodes in some kind of vast neural network. But these patterns, they're specifically targeting areas associated with creative problem-solving and adaptive thinking. His team had infiltrated the facility disguised as a routine supply shipment. The Meridians, overconfident in their security, never imagined humans could copy their technology so quickly. They didn't understand that human parents would spend every resource, call in every favor, and break every rule to save their children. Wait. Kai froze as new data scrolled across his scanner. "Sarah, they're not just studying human creativity. They're harvesting it, converting human neural patterns into some kind of transferable data format." Through the wall, he could hear the soft hum of machinery, and beneath it, something that made his blood run cold, the quiet whimpers of children in pain. "The Meridians," came a new voice over the comm. Dr. James Martinez, speaking from the Earth Command Center. "They're a species that lost their ability to innovate. They advanced through pure logic and methodology, but somewhere along the way, they lost the spark of creativity. They can't think outside the box anymore. So they're stealing that ability from our children," Sarah concluded. The rage in her voice was now mixed with disgust. Kai's scanner beeped with an incoming transmission. Maya had managed to hack into the facility's research database. The files confirmed their worst fears. The Meridians had been doing this for centuries, targeting species with high creative potential. But humans were different. Human children showed levels of neural adaptability and creative problem-solving that exceeded anything they'd seen before. "They're calling it Project Renaissance," Kai reported, scanning through the files. "They believe they can use human neural patterns to restore their species' lost creativity. But the process, it's burning out the children's minds. Each extraction damages their neural pathways." "How long?" Sarah's question was barely a whisper. "At the current rate of extraction," Kai's voice caught. "Months, maybe less." The silence that followed was broken by Maya's voice, cold and precise. "I've mapped the facility systems, their security, life support, everything. And I found something else. They're networked to similar facilities across Meridian space. There are more children, hundreds more, from other species." "How many facilities?" Sarah asked. 23, all running the same neural extraction protocols. Kai heard Sarah take a deep breath. When she spoke again, her voice had the kind of calm that preceded a storm. "Send everything to Earth Command. And Maya, Send it to every species whose children they've taken. Let's show the galaxy what these enlightened meridians have been doing. Already done. Maya's voice held a grim satisfaction. The Arcturus Confederation is particularly interested. Apparently, the Meridians took some of their young ones last cycle. They're offering their fleet. Good. Sarah's reply was cold. Because when this breaks, we're going to need every ally we can get. The Meridians think they can process human creativity. Let's show them what human creativity looks like when it's focused on revenge. Kai looked at his scanner one last time, at the neural patterns of 30 children being slowly drained of their essence. In all his years of studying alien minds, he'd never imagined he'd encounter something this horrific. But he'd also never imagined how humanity would respond to such a threat. The extraction chamber is 2 levels down, he reported, already moving. I'm seeing gaps in their security patterns every 15 minutes, and I've got schematics for their neural interface systems. Can you shut it down? Sarah asked. Better. For the first time since the mission began, Kai smiled. I can reverse it. They wanted to study human creativity. Let's give them a first-hand demonstration of human ingenuity under pressure. As he began reprogramming his equipment, Kai thought about what the Meridians had failed to understand. They saw human creativity as a resource to be harvested, never realizing it was a force that became most dangerous when backed into a corner. They were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The rescue was about to begin. And with it, a revolution that would shake the foundations of Meridian society. The galaxy was about to witness what happened when humanity's greatest strengths were turned toward a single purpose: protecting our children. Breaking point. Priya Patel had always been good at patterns. At 15, she'd already won international awards for her work in mathematical topology. Now, strapped into a Meridian neural extraction chamber, she used that gift to find the gaps in their system, the brief moments when the machine's grip on her mind loosened. In those fragments of clarity, she reached out to the others. The Meridians hadn't realized that their neural network, designed to harvest human creativity, could be turned into a communication channel by minds desperate enough to find a way. They're coming, she whispered through the neural link to the other children. Our parents found us. We just have to hold on. The response came in waves of thought and emotion from the other chambers. Some were strong, others frighteningly weak. The extraction process was taking its toll. We need to fight back, came Tommy Chen's thoughts, stronger than most. At 16, he'd been a prodigy in systems engineering. They think we're just passive subjects. Let's show them what human teenagers can really do. In orbit above the Meridian homeworld, Fleet Admiral Helena Rodriguez watched the final preparations for humanity's response. The combined fleet of Earth, the Arcturus Confederation, and 3 other species whose children had been taken by the Meridians filled her tactical display. Over 300 ships, all waiting for her signal. The Meridian High Council is responding to our transmission, her communications officer reported. They're claiming no knowledge of the program. They say these facilities must be rogue operations. Helena's laugh was cold. Send them the evidence package. All of it. Show them exactly what their Scientific Advancement Division has been doing. And make sure every species in the galaxy receives a copy. The data Dr. Anderson and his team had recovered was damning. Decades of systematic abduction, experimentation, and neural harvesting. The Meridians had built their recent technological renaissance on the stolen creativity of children. Message from Dr. Patel's team, the comm officer announced. They finished analyzing the neural interface protocols. It's, Ma'am, you need to see this. Helena's eyes widened as she read the report. The Meridians hadn't just been stealing creativity. They'd been trying to replicate it, to inject stolen human neural patterns into their own population. The process was failing, causing mental breakdowns among their test subjects. They were growing desperate. Inside the facility, Priya felt the change begin. During one of the brief gaps in the extraction cycle, Tawny had managed to introduce a subtle modification to the neural network's code. Now, every time the Meridians tried to extract creative potential from their human subjects, they got something else instead. Fear. Tommy sent through their makeshift network. Let them feel what we feel. Let them understand what they've done. The first Meridian researcher collapsed when the modified neural feed hit their systems. Others followed, their minds overwhelmed by the concentrated terror and rage of 30 tortured human children. The facility's alarms began to wail. In orbit, Helena watched as chaos erupted across Meridian space. The neural network that connected their facilities had become a weapon, turned against them by their own victims. Reports flooded in of Meridian scientists and administrators collapsing, their minds broken by the emotional feedback loop their human subjects had created. Now, Helena commanded, her voice carrying across all fleet channels. All ships, execute Operation Thunderchild. Rescue teams, you have your targets. Let's get our children back. The combined fleet moved with devastating precision, targeting the 23 facilities simultaneously. The Meridians, their leadership paralyzed by the neural backlash, could barely mount a defense. In her chamber, Priya felt the building shake as rescue teams breached the facility. Through the neural link, she sent one final message to her fellow captives. Together, like we practiced. 30 young minds, trained by months of torture to work in perfect synchronization, turned their full creative potential against the machines that held them. Systems overloaded, safety protocols failed, and containment fields collapsed. Dr. Anderson's team found them in the extraction chamber. 30 teenagers, standing free of their restraints, surrounded by smoking ruins of Meridian technology. Some needed help to walk. All showed signs of their ordeal, but their eyes held a hard-won strength. The other facilities, Priya asked as soon as she saw him. All being liberated as we speak, Kai assured her. Your mother's algorithm worked perfectly. We found every single one. As rescue ships descended through the Meridian atmosphere, Helena received one final report. The Meridian High Council was surrendering unconditionally. They'd seen the evidence, felt the mental backlash, and realized the magnitude of their mistake. But it wasn't over. The liberated children had glimpsed something in the neural network, evidence of other facilities, hidden deeper in Meridian space, holding children from species even the Arcturus Confederation hadn't known about. We're not finished, Priya told Dr. Anderson as they headed for the rescue ships. Those other children, we felt them. They're still trapped, still suffering. Kai looked at the determination in her eyes, in the eyes of all the rescued children, and understood. The Meridians had wanted to study human creativity and determination. Instead, they created something unprecedented. A generation of human children who'd learned to turn neural science into a weapon, united by their shared trauma and driven by a fierce determination to prevent anyone else from suffering their fate. The galaxy was about to change, and these children would be the ones leading that change. The Meridians had wanted to harvest human potential. They'd succeeded only in unleashing it. Humanity unleashed. The Meridian High Council chamber had never seen anything like it. Representatives from 27 species filled the ancient hall, their combined fleets holding position in orbit above. At the center of it all stood Admiral Helena Rodriguez, her voice carrying across the stunned silence. We found the others, she said, each word falling like a hammer blow. All of them, every facility, every child, every species you've harvested from across 3 centuries of exploration. The Meridian Council members' skin had lost its luminescence, turning a dull gray in what their species experts identified as extreme distress. First Speaker Vine 891 attempted to respond, but Helena wasn't finished. Your own records tell the story. You found you couldn't innovate anymore, couldn't adapt or create. Instead of accepting this limitation, you decided to steal these abilities from others. But you made 3 critical mistakes. Behind her, holographic displays showed the evidence, hundreds of facilities, thousands of victims, spanning generations of quiet theft. But now, Thanks to the neural network the rescued human children had learned to manipulate, every secret was exposed. First, Helena continued, you underestimated how quickly we'd advance once we knew our children were in danger. Your technology, we reversed engineered it in months. Your neural networks, our children turned them against you in weeks. In orbit, the combined fleet had already secured every major Meridian military installation. But it wasn't just warships. Earth had deployed something the Meridians had never seen before. Vessels specifically designed to hack and override their neural technology, created by the parents of the taken children. Second, you didn't understand what you were actually stealing. Human creativity isn't just about problem solving. It's about emotional connection, about empathy, about the fierce drive to protect others. When you networked our children together, you gave them the means to reach out to every other victim of your experiments. The displays shifted, showing new data, the modified neural patterns that Priya, Tommy, and the others had created. They hadn't just resisted the extraction process, they'd transformed it, creating a way for different species to share thoughts and emotions directly. But your third mistake, Helena's voice grew colder. That was the worst. You hurt our children. And then you kept records of everything you did to them. Records that we've now shared with every spacefaring civilization in reach. The chamber doors opened, and survivors began to enter. Children and young adults from dozens of species, some from races humanity hadn't even known existed. Leading them was Priya Patel, looking stronger now despite her ordeal, her neural implants repurposed into something new. We propose a new council, Priya announced, her voice steady. Not just for justice, though there will be that, but because what you tried to steal, we've learned to share. The rescued children demonstrated their discovery. Direct neural communication across species barriers, allowing for perfect understanding and empathy. What the Meridians had intended as a harvesting tool had become a bridge between minds. You wanted creativity. Tommy Chen stepped forward, his neural implants glowing with repurposed energy. Watch what happens when we work together. The combined knowledge and experience of thousands of victims, spanning centuries and species, flowed through the modified neural network. Ideas, innovations, and solutions to problems that had plagued the galaxy for millennia emerged from their shared consciousness. First speaker Vine 891 finally found his voice. What? What are you going to do with us? Helena smiled, but it wasn't a kind expression. That's not my decision to make. You'll face justice from every species you've wronged. But first, you're going to help us find any victims we haven't rescued yet. And then, you're going to learn what real creativity looks like. The survivors had already begun transforming Meridian technology, turning tools of exploitation into means of connection and growth. The neural network that had once stolen creativity now fostered it, allowing species to share their unique perspectives and abilities. You tried to take our greatest strength, Priya addressed the council. Instead, you helped us share it with the galaxy. Every race you victimized is now connected, united. We can communicate across species barriers, share experiences and emotions directly. We've turned your theft into a gift. As the council chamber erupted in discussion, Helena received a priority message from Earth. More ships were arriving. Not warships this time, but vessels carrying teachers, scientists, and diplomats. Humanity's first real contribution to galactic society would be helping to build something new from the ashes of the Meridians' crimes. The galaxy was transforming, not through the theft of abilities, but through their willing exchange. The Meridians had wanted to forcibly take human creativity. Instead, they created the conditions for humanity's greatest act of creation, a new way for species to understand each other, to share their strengths, and to ensure that no children would ever suffer as they had again. The new understanding. 5 years after the liberation of the Meridian facilities, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Great Hall of the new Galactic Congress on Earth bustled with activity as representatives from over 50 species gathered for the anniversary of what had become known as the Children's Revolution. Dr. Maya Patel stood at the podium, her daughter Priya beside her. Now 20, Priya had grown into her role as one of the leaders of the Interspecies Connection Initiative, her neural implants gleaming with the soft blue light that marked the reformed technology. When the Meridians took our children, Maya began, they thought they were harvesting a resource. Instead, they catalyzed an evolution in galactic society. The evidence was all around them. The neural connection technology, transformed by its victims into a tool for understanding, had broken down barriers between species that diplomacy had never managed to breach. Where once there had been misunderstanding and conflict, now there was direct emotional and intellectual exchange. In the medical wing of the Congress building, Dr. Kai Anderson worked with a team of former victims, now experts in their own right. The neural technology that had once caused them so much pain now served as a therapeutic tool, helping to heal trauma and forge connections between survivors. The scars remain, Tommy Chen explained to a group of visiting diplomats, his hands moving across a holographic display of mural patterns. But we've learned to turn them into bridges. The Meridians themselves had undergone a profound transformation. Under the supervision of the coalition of species they had wronged, their society had been reformed. The rigid hierarchy that had led to their ethical collapse was replaced by a new system, one that emphasized cooperation over exploitation. Admiral Helena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's representative to the Congress, watched as a group of young Meridians worked alongside human children in one of the new exchange centers. The facilities that had once housed torture chambers had been converted into schools where species could learn from each other directly, sharing not just knowledge but experiences. They wanted to understand human creativity. Helena mused to Sarah Chen, who had risen to become the head of Earth's Xenodiplomacy Division. Now they're learning it the right way, through cooperation and consent. The greatest change, however, had come from the children themselves. The survivors of the Meridian facilities had grown into leaders of a new movement that spread across the galaxy. They called it the Unity Protocol, a system of voluntary neural sharing that allowed species to understand each other on a fundamental level. We took their weapon, Priya explained to the Congress, and turned it into a gift. What was meant to divide and exploit now serves to unite and elevate. The galactic community had learned hard lessons from the Meridian crisis. New laws protected the rights of all sentient young, enforced by a coalition fleet that stood ready to respond to any threat to children of any species. But more importantly, the crisis had taught them the true value of human creativity, not as a resource to be harvested, but as a force for positive change. In orbit above Earth, the massive form of the Unity Station neared completion. Built through the combined efforts of 27 species, it served as both a memorial to the victims and a beacon of hope for the future. Its neural transmission arrays, redesigned by the survivors, broadcast a constant signal of connection and understanding across the galaxy. They thought they could take our creativity by force. Maya concluded her address to the Congress. Instead, we showed them, and the galaxy, that human ingenuity is at its strongest when it's freely shared. Our children didn't just survive their ordeal, they transformed it into something that will benefit generations to come. As she finished speaking, the lights in the hall dimmed, and a new holographic display activated. It showed the faces of every child who had been taken, alongside the new innovations and connections their shared experience had sparked. The Meridians had sought to steal human potential. Instead, they had unleashed it in a way that transformed galactic civilization. The last image showed a recent scene from one of the exchange centers. Children from dozens of species, including young Meridians, learning and playing together, their neural interfaces glowing with the soft blue light of willing connection. Above them, written in the languages of all present species, was a simple message: never again through force, always through choice. We rise together. The galaxy had learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't just its creativity or its ability to adapt. It was the fierce love that drove humans to protect their children, and the wisdom to turn even the darkest experience into a force for positive change. The Meridians had wanted to understand human nature. In the end, they had succeeded, just not in the way they had intended. And in the stars above, humanity's children led the way toward a future where understanding came not through theft, but through sharing, not through force, but through choice, not through isolation, but through connection. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had hoped to achieve.